Am I the only one that when they hear The Night Agent thinks of the song Night Owls by Little River Band? Yeah, probably. But anyways, this season of The Night Agent is a very frustrating viewing experience. Season 2 of The Night Agent takes place about, 10 months after the events of the first season, I believe they say, and we find Peter on assignment with new partner Alice investigating an American operative selling classified information overseas. The op goes sideways, and Peter believes that there is a traitor at Night Watch and decides to go rogue. Again. Meanwhile, Rose is working for a company that uses your internet footprint to create better targeted ads, but when she gets a mysterious call asking for Peter's location, she repurposes the software, adds some facial recognition, rewrites the code, and uses it to find Peter in New York City, setting off a chain of events that will encompass pretty much the entire arc of their season. 2 additional arcs get added in the form of espionage at the Iranian embassy just before the UN General Assembly is set to meet, and what I think is supposed to be a Serbian warlord family. They make allusions to using chemical warfare gases, and it's kind of vaguely Baltic, so I'm going to go Serbian. Now, how these stories are related and can our heroes save the day is sort of the point of the season. Now, if all this sounds like it would make for a pretty decent Tom Clancy-esque or 24 Light style show, that's mostly what it is. If you saw season 1 of The Night Agent, then you know pretty much what to expect. Some decent writing, some leaden leads, lackluster action sequences, but kind of a serviceable beer and pretzel fodder show. For my money, though, this season is both better and worse than season 1. First of all, the Iranian embassy story surrounding Noor and her attempts to defect while avoiding Javad is amazing. Javad is played by the same actor who played Marco Inaros in The Expanse. Dude's just intense. As a matter of fact, the whole spycraft story between the two of them, very intense, very well paced, incredibly well acted, some really cool twists and turns. I really enjoyed it. In fact, this story and its cast are so good that every time Rose and Peter are on screen, you're reminded of just how wooden and boring they are as actors. I mean, they only have 2 facial expressions. Scenes they share with other characters are rough because of that, never mind when they have to act across from each other. You are lucky it was only mildly cringe-inducing, especially that scene at the end. I won't get into spoilers just yet. Now, the dialogue and situations they concoct to keep Rose in the mix and just trying to keep her relevant are so lazy and hard to watch sometimes. Couldn't have done it without you, Rose. I'm real glad you're on the team, Rose. You're a real asset to the team, Rose. You know, you're a top secret watchdog group and you're reliant on Pout Trout Mouth over here? No way. Her character is just a tag along and she should not be in season 3 if they make a season 3. I mean, she's done. Please just let her character stop doing things. Then having Rose and Peter constantly recap what I just saw on screen, only with their no chemistry and lack of acting talent, you can't handle it. Just kills me. What a waste of time. And speaking of things that kill me, these action sequences are trash. They don't look violent or kinetic. I have a hard time believing pretty much every single one of them. I mean, look at some of this footage I'm showing. I could fight like this, and I have no training. No training at all. There's no danger to these fights. Don't even get me started on Peter on foot chases. Dude looks like he's constantly about to have a heart attack. I mean, can we get this main actor, Gabriel Basso, I believe is his name? Can we put some effort to get into character shape? Not a lot, but can we at least practice running for a start? Maybe some basic hand-to-hand combat? Something that makes it look like it's his character? I don't know. I'm also just really tired of escalation of stakes. And by that I mean season 1 is about saving the president, which is a pretty big deal, right? Season 2 revolves around the UN, which is a bigger deal, right? I mean, at a certain point, you just strain credulity in thinking that Peter, Rose, and his new handler, Catherine, are able to handle this threat. I mean, honest to God, I've seen James Bond movies with more appropriately scaled threats than this. Now, there are a few spoilers I want to discuss, so before I jump into those, just let me say that if you like season 1, I think this season is better, but they really make you wish they would just put their main actor through acting and fight classes. I mean, he drags this thing down. All right, spoiler time. You've been warned. All right, so the first spoiler, I'm actually kind of shocked that they killed Brittany Snow's Alice and kept her dead. I mean, I totally expected her to come back later in the season as the secret mole that betrayed her mission with Peter, and the fact that she stayed dead was kind of a nice surprise. I wasn't really expecting it. And speaking of killing characters, killing Noor's brother, I didn't think the show had the stones to do that, let alone cut to Peter, who finds out and then lies to guarantee her cooperation so he could get the documents she had. I thought that was awesome. I love that kind of moral flexibility, the mission comes first, she's an asset. But they ruin it by following it up with Rose, just her emotional breakdown. She's like, I don't see how lying to her is for the greater good. And then she's like, I do see how lying to her is for the greater good. I did it myself. But I don't like you putting me in a situation where I have to lie to somebody. Well, nobody put you in that situation. You can't complain about this thing that you put yourself into, and they gave you an out, and you said, I don't want to leave. I'm going to stick around, right? Like, no one is making you stay. And then, like, the worst part about that, too, is by the end of the season, she's like, you know what? I think this is having a negative impact on me. I'm tired of running. It's like, you don't mean it's had an impact on your moral compass. You're just exhausted. I mean, get out of town. I could not stand that. It's almost as useless as her ending up in that secret weapons lab with Dutch Boy. That's right, it's a Sean Ryan callback to The Shield. I mean, that sequence of events was terrible. Not only are they trapped in this thing, but then their big thing, what if we make a knockout gas? All right, first thing I said, I actually said this out loud watching it by myself. Well, they probably have gas masks outside the lab, because if they were all in the lab, then those masks would be useless in the event they leaked anything, right? And sure enough, there are masks outside the lab. This thing's just dumb. I mean, the Serbian warlords were kind of cool, but they're like a pretty generic villain, and you don't spend enough time really fleshing them out. They kind of try to a little bit, so that way when like Rose talks to Thomas into not killing, or Tomas into not killing a bunch of people, I mean, that could have worked if Rose was a decent actor, but she isn't, and it's so flat and awkward. And I seriously thought, I was like, he's just pretending this is working, because there's no way he can be convinced. He's just pretending so that way he can gain counterintelligence to go tell his cousin. But no, that was a serious take. That's really what they went with. Whatever. Speaking of things that also disappointed me a little bit, Solomon, who I thought was pretty cool, kind of went out like a bitch. I mean, that's unfortunate, because they had a really neat flashback sequence where they show him meeting like the information broker for the first time. And I thought that was cool. I think the information broker is an interesting villain, sort of. He's clearly being set up for a bigger role in season 3. And now that he has like Peter under his thumb, I wonder if he'll enlist Peter in getting revenge on Catherine for killing Solomon. But speaking of like some season 3 stuff, they installed the president, and now Peter will have to be a double agent like his father was. Like, oh boy, what a great idea this is. Can't wait to see Peter reunite with that female Secret Service agent from season 1 for more CW level acting. Seriously, put Gabriel Basso through acting and real boot camp. He's killing your show. And no more Rose.